A blonde, a redhead, and a brunette were all lost in the desert. They found a lamp and rubbed it. A genie popped out and granted them each one wish. The redhead wished to be back home. Poof! She was back home. The brunette wished to be at home with her family. Poof! She was back home with her family. The blonde said, "Oh, I wish my friends were here." Two blondes fell down a hole. One said, "It's dark in here, isn't it?" The other replied, "I don't know, I can't see." Blonde, "What does IDK stand for?" Brunette, "I don't know." Blonde, "OMG, nobody does." There was a blonde, a redhead, and a brunette. They were all trapped on an island and the nearest shore was 50 miles away. The redhead swam trying to make it to the other shore. She swam 15 miles, drowned, and died. The brunette swam 24 miles, drowned, and died. The blonde swam 25 miles, got tired, and swam back. Q. Why can't a blonde dial 911? Oh, she can't find the 11. A blonde and a redhead have a ranch. They have just lost their bull. The women need to buy another, but only have $500. The redhead tells the blonde, "I will go to the market and see if I can find one for under that amount. If I can, I will send you a telegram." She goes to the market and finds one for $499. Having only $1 left, she goes to the telegraph office and finds out that it costs $1 per word. She is stumped on how to tell the blonde to bring the truck and trailer. Finally, she tells the telegraph operator to send the word comfortable. Skeptical, the operator asks, how will she know to come with the trailer from just that word? The redhead replies, she's a blonde so she reads slow, comfortable. A guy took his blonde girlfriend to her first football game. They had great seats right behind their team's bench. After the game, he asked her how she liked the experience. "Oh, I really liked it," she replied, "especially the tight pants and all the big muscles, but I just couldn't understand why they were killing each other over 25 cents. Dumbfounded, her date asked, "What do you mean?" Well, they flipped a coin, one team got it, and then for the rest of the game, all they kept screaming was, "Get the quarterback! Get the quarterback!" I'm like, hello. It's only 25 cents. A robber comes into the store and steals a TV. A blonde runs after him and says, "Wait, you forgot the remote." A guy was driving in a car with a blonde. He told her to stick her head out the window and see if the blinker worked. She stuck her head out and said, "Yes, no, yes, no, yes." There was a blonde who just got sick and tired of all the blonde jokes. One evening, she went home and memorized all the state capitals. Back in the office the next day, some guy started telling a dumb blonde joke. She interrupted him with a shrill announcement, "I've had it up to here with these blonde jokes. I want you to know that this blonde went home last night and did something probably none of you could do. I memorized all the state capitals." One of the guys, of course, said, "I don't believe you. What is the capital of Nevada?" And she answered, "There are 11 people hanging onto a rope that comes down from an airplane. 10 of them are blonde, and 1 is a brunette. They all decide that one person should get off because if they don't, the rope will break and everyone will die. No one can decide who should go, so finally the brunette delivers a very touching speech, ending with the words, 'I'll get off.' The blondes, all moved by the brunette's speech, start clapping. Problem solved. A blonde, wanting to earn some money, decided to hire herself out as a handyman type and started canvassing a wealthy neighborhood. She went to the front door of the first house and asked the owner if he had any jobs for her to do. "Well, you can paint my porch. How much will you charge?" The blonde said, "How about $50? The man agreed and told her that the paint and ladders that she might need were in the garage. The man's wife, inside the house, heard the conversation and said to her husband, "Does she realize that the porch goes all the way around the house?" The man replied, "She should. She was standing on the porch." A short time later, the blonde came to the door to collect her money. "You're finished already?" he asked. "Yes," the blonde answered, "and I had paint left over, so I gave it 2 coats." Impressed, the man reached in his pocket for the $50. "And by the way," the blonde added, "that's not a porch, it's a Ferrari." Why couldn't the blonde add 10 plus 5 on a calculator? Oh, she couldn't find the 10 button. A blind guy on a bar stool shouts to the bartender, "Wanna hear a blonde joke?" In a hushed voice, the guy next to him says, "Before you tell that joke, you should know something. Our bartender is blonde. The bouncer is blonde. I'm a 6 foot tall, 200-pound black belt. The guy sitting next to me is 6 foot 2, weighs 225, and he's a rugby player. The fella to your right is 6 foot 5, pushing 300, and he's a wrestler. Each one of us is blonde. Think about it, mister. Do you still wanna tell that joke?" The blind guy says, "Nah, not if I'm gonna have to explain it 5 times. A science teacher tells his class, oxygen is a must for breathing and life. It was discovered in 1773. A blonde student responds, "Thank God I was born after 1773. Otherwise I would have died without it." A husband and wife were driving through Louisiana. As they approached Natchitoches, they started arguing about the pronunciation of the town. They argued back and forth, then they stopped for lunch. At the counter, the husband asked the blonde waitress, "Before we order, could you please settle an argument for us? Would you please pronounce where we are very slowly?" She leaned over the counter and said, "Bergerac Keating." A blonde goes into a nearby store and asks a clerk if she can buy the TV in the corner. The clerk looks at her and says that he doesn't serve blondes, so she goes back home and dyes her hair black. The next day she returns to the store and asks the same thing, and again, the clerk said he doesn't serve blondes. Frustrated, the blonde goes home and dyes her hair yet again, to a shade of red. Sure that a clerk would sell her the TV this time, she returns and asks a different clerk this time. To her astonishment, this clerk also says that she doesn't serve blondes. The blonde asks the clerk, "How in the world do you know I am a blonde?" The clerk looks at her disgustedly and says, "That's not a TV, it's a microwave." What did the blonde say when she saw the Cheerios box? Donut seeds. A brunette goes into a doctor's office and says that her body hurts wherever she touches it. "Impossible," says the doctor. "Show me." She takes her finger, presses on her elbow, and screams in agony. She pushes her knee and screams, pushes her ankle and screams, and so it goes on. Everywhere she touches makes her scream with pain. The doctor says, "You're not really a brunette, are you?" She says, "No, I dyed my hair. I'm naturally blonde." "I thought so," he says. "Your finger is broken." A police officer stops a blonde for speeding and asks if he could see her license. She replied in a huff, "I wish you guys could get your act together. Just yesterday you take away my license and then today you expect me to show it to you." Why did the blonde tiptoe near the medicine cabinet? because she didn't want to wake the sleeping pills. A blonde really got tired of all blonde jokes and decided to hang herself in the bathroom. As she locked the door, she yelled at her husband, "I'm hanging myself because I'm tired of jokes about us blondes being stupid." Her husband broke into the bathroom and saw his wife with a rope tied on her toe. The husband said, "I thought you were hanging yourself." She said, "Yes, I am." The husband replied, "Usually when people hang themselves, they tie the rope around their neck, so why is yours tied on your toe?" She said, "I tried that, but I couldn't breathe." A blonde goes to the doctors and find out she is pregnant with twins. She starts crying and the doctor asks her what's wrong. She replies, "I know who the dad is for one of them but I don't know who the dad is for the other one." A blonde, out of money, and down on her luck after buying air at a real bargain, needed money desperately. To raise cash, she decided to kidnap a child and hold him for ransom. She went to the local playground, grabbed a kid randomly, took her behind a building, and told her, "I've kidnapped you." She then wrote a big note saying, "I've kidnapped your kid. Tomorrow morning, put $10,000 in a paper bag and leave it under the apple tree next to the slides, on the south side of the playground." Signed, a blonde. The blonde then pinned the note to the kid's shirt and sent him home to show it to his parents. The next morning, the blonde checked, and sure enough, a paper bag was sitting beneath the apple tree. The blonde looked in the bag and found the $10,000 with a note that said, "How could you do this to a fellow blonde? Did you hear about the blonde that got excited? She finished a jigsaw puzzle in 6 months, when the box said, 2 to 4 years. 3 blondes walk into a building. You'd think one of them would have seen it." Tired of constant blonde jokes, a blonde dyes her hair brown. She then goes for a drive in the country and sees a shepherd herding his sheep across the road. "Hey, shepherd, if I guess how many sheep are here, can I keep one?" The shepherd is puzzled but agrees. She blurts out 352. He is stunned but keeps his word and allows her to pick a sheep. "I'll take this one," she says proudly. "It's the cutest." "Hey lady," says the shepherd, "if I guess your real hair color, can I have my dog back?" Why did the blonde put her iPad in a blender? Because she wanted to make apple juice. A brunette and blonde are walking in the park when the brunette says, "Oh, look at the dead birdie." The blonde looks up and says, "Where?" A blonde is watching the news with her husband when the newscaster says, 6 Brazilian men die in a skydiving accident. The blonde starts crying to her husband, sobbing, "That's horrible." Confused, he replies, "Yes dear, it is sad, but they were skydiving, and there is always that risk involved." After a few minutes, the blonde, still sobbing, says, "How many is a Brazilian? How do you confuse a blonde? Put her in a circle and tell her to go to the corner." A blonde, a brunette, and a redhead are running from the police. They run into an old barn and hide in potato sacks. The officer chasing them walks into the barn looking for them. He kicks the first sack with the redhead inside and the redhead says, "Woof woof." The cop thinks it's a dog, so he walks to the next one. He kicks the second bag with the brunette, and she says, "Meow meow." The cop believes it's a cat and moves on. He kicks the third bag with the blonde, and the blonde yells, "Potato potato." How did the blonde try to kill the bird? She threw it off a cliff. So I asked a blonde, which is closer, Florida or the sun? She said, "The sun, because I can look up and see it." Brunette, where were you born? Blonde, the United States. Brunette, which part? Blonde, my whole body. How did the blonde die drinking milk? The cow fell on her. I knew a blonde that was so stupid, she put lipstick on her forehead because she wanted to make up her mind. Why did the blonde like lightning? She thought someone was taking a picture of her. How do you get a one-handed blonde down from a tree? Wave at her. A blonde, a brunette, and a redhead all work at the same office for a female boss who always goes home early. Hey girls, says the brunette, let's go home early tomorrow. She'll never know. The next day, they all leave right after the boss does. The brunette gets some extra gardening done, the redhead goes to a bar, and the blonde goes home to find her husband having sex with the female boss. She quietly sneaks out of the house and returns at her normal time. That was fun, says the brunette. We should do it again sometime. No way, says the blonde. I almost got caught. 3 blonde girls were walking in the woods and came upon tracks. The first one said, look, it's deer tracks. The second one said, no, it's wolf tracks, and before the third one could answer, they got hit by a train. How come it takes so long to build a blonde snowman? Because you have to hollow out the head. A blonde woman decides that she is sick and tired of all the blonde jokes and how all blondes are perceived as stupid, so she decides to show her husband that blondes really are smart. While her husband is off at work, she decides that she is going to paint a couple of rooms in the house. The next day, right after her husband leaves for work, she gets down to the task at hand. Her husband arrives home at 5:30 and smells the distinctive smell of paint. He walks into the living room and finds his wife lying on the floor in a pool of sweat. He notices that she is wearing a ski jacket and a fur coat at the same time. He goes over and asks her if she is okay. She replies yes. He asks what she is doing. She replies that she wanted to prove to him that not all blonde women are dumb, and she wanted to do it by painting the house. He then asks her why she has a ski jacket over her fur coat. She replies that she was reading the directions on the paint can and they said, for best results, put on 2 coats. This blonde calls me and says, what's your phone number? I can't find it. 3 women, a blonde, a redhead, and a brunette, are lost in the forest while hunting. They each have a shotgun with 2 bullets. They make a fire. Then the redhead gets up and goes hunting. She comes back with 2 rabbits. The other 2 say, wow, where did you get that? She says, I found tracks. I followed tracks. I saw rabbits. Rabbits ran. I shot. Rabbits stopped. Then the brunette leaves and comes back with a deer. The other 2 say, wow, where did you get that? She says, I found tracks. I followed tracks. I saw deer. Deer ran. I shot. Deer stopped. The blonde leaves and comes crawling back, all blooded and black and blue. The others say, wow, where did you get that? She says, I found tracks. I followed tracks. I saw train. Train ran. I shot. Train didn't stop. A man walks by a blonde, who is holding a pig. The man asks, where did you get her? The pig answered, I won her at the fair. There's a blonde and a brunette in a car. The brunette is driving while the blonde is in the passenger seat. They're going down a steep hill when the brunette realizes that the brakes don't work. The brunette tells the blonde that the brakes don't work and they will drive off the side of the cliff because they failed to stop. The blonde then replies, don't worry. There's a stop sign ahead. Q. How do you keep a blonde busy for 2 days? A. Give her a piece of paper that has please turn over written on both sides.